All right, guys, we got a big and exciting show here. We are talking about rookie quarterbacks, fantasy football impact, possible landing spots, player profiles. We're going to cover you. So if you want an episode where you want to know who is Caleb Williams, what should I expect from him, where could he possibly land? We're going to talk about everything rookie quarterbacks on the top prospects going into the 2024 NFL draft. On the show, we got Jimmy Maverick. What's going on, Jim?
Hey, counselor. I'm doing good. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. Ready to dive into some quarterbacks and start a discussion here and look at some possible landing spots because the draft is just around the corner, man. I'm super hyped. Once the draft hits, that's it, man. It's full force fantasy football season.
That's right. I'm very excited to see where these players go. It's going to be a great first round of the NFL for fantasy relevant players. Like I'm estimating in the first 15 picks, it's probably going to be 10 fantasy players, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and a tight end, which is just fantastic. These are future superstars. We're going to be talking about these guys for years, in a lot of cases, and I think a lot of them are going to bust out and not do a damn thing. But we're going to look at they're estimating that 6 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round of the NFL draft.
Oh, yeah.
That is close to a record, and we're going to talk about all 6 of these guys and what their prospects look like, and if they're going to be worth anything in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. And you guys can come hang with us. So, guys, it's very important right now. You smash thumbs up and turn on the bell. Subscribe, turn on the bell, because we're going to be doing a live for the first 14 picks, okay? We're going to be on live. You can come hang with us, have a drink with us, soda, water, whatever you want to drink. We're going to be drinking, having a good time here, having a couple sodas here on this podcast. So turn on the bell, guys, for this draft. It's going to be amazing. We're going to go over it. We're going to give our reactions to it. So turn on the bell. Secondly, we're also doing a live, guys, the Fantasy Sports Summit. We've got everybody booked. We may be adding talent down the road. Still undecided yet on that. But Kyron Williams, Trey Benson, top rookie running back prospect, is going to be there. We've got Pat Fryermuth, Frank Gore Jr., and more. Guys, I've linked it below, the Fantasy Sports Summit. Click on the link here below and join us at the summit. It's going to be August 21st. We're going to be hanging out. It's going to be amazing, guys. You have to be here and secure the 16-round draft session. You can pre-order it right now. Use code SMASH to save. Jim, we got so much upcoming here. We've covered all areas. I want to make sure that we make it a fun experience for everybody. Adding the summit is huge, 16 rounds. And, of course, Jim Zapp, the 60-round plus. We're all encompassing. It's like one big umbrella of great stuff for you guys to immerse yourself in fantasy football. The ultimate fantasy experience, Jim. That's it, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we want to help you guys win. That's what we're here for. We want to win some championships. We want to win some money in those best ball leagues. That's what we're all about here. And we want to help you guys do the same thing.
All right, so turn on that bell. We're going to see you guys, obviously, here every day we're on, but also on this live during the NFL draft. It's going to be exciting, okay? So let's start with Caleb Williams here. Let's get right to the quarterbacks. Now, Caleb Williams, I'll kind of break it down in like super easy ways to understand. Understand with quarterbacks, Jim and I were talking about this, we don't like to draft quarterbacks. Last year, we were saying, was it Bryce Young had a crappy year and CJ Stroud had an amazing year? Some of these guys may have amazing years, but you always want to anchor your team with an ace quarterback that has solidified his position and is going to get you the almost guaranteed numbers. There's no guarantees in fantasy. With these guys, you are really rolling the dice. Let the teams roll the dice for the first year, the actual NFL teams, and then we as fantasy owners can get these guys later. Now, I wouldn't mind, depending on where these guys land and who the receivers are, getting these guys as a potential backup. There's some upside here, right? But I want to do that a disclaimer, Jim. Do you agree that we want to be cautious in drafting these guys before we discuss this?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that they're never really that expensive. The rookie quarterbacks are never really that expensive. But the risk with the rookies is, and even if they're a good quarterback, even if they're a franchise player, they're typically not very good in their rookie season. What I like to say is they usually end up with about the same number of touchdowns as interceptions, and both those numbers are usually sub 20. So they're not going to be great for fantasy. There's not going to be as many scoring drives, and that's really going to hurt all the players around them. So I tend to stay away from players playing with a rookie quarterback in most cases. But there are opportunities here. Some of these guys, I think right off the bat, are going to be productive enough to be fantasy relevant. But they are risky play. Just think about this. Think about Mahomes didn't do anything his rookie year. Josh Allen was not good his rookie year, except for like right at the very end when he started to open things up. Um, Lamar Jackson was not good in his rookie year. These are players that we talk about as being the cream of the crop in the NFL. Their rookie season was not that great. The only quarterbacks I can think about that really had a good rookie season were CJ Stroud last year and Justin Herbert, like 5 years ago or whenever he came into the league. But most of the other quarterbacks don't really get going until year two. So
All right, guys, smash thumbs up, turn on bell. Let's talk about Caleb Williams here. Now, again, I want to make it super easy. He's got Kyler Murray comps, right? They're comparing him to Kyler Murray. Some people can debate it. Now, here's some quick notes on him. 6'1", 218. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments here. This is what I'm getting off some scouting websites here in my research and watching tape on YouTube and all that. Amazing arm strength, amazing with the scramble. So he bounces out of the pocket pretty quick. He's elusive, similar to the way Kyler is. His interception ratio, 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, 3,600 plus yards. The only negative I have, Jim, you could give your analysis on him here, is that he's got what they call a hero ball. I guess he takes a lot of risk throwing the ball down the field, and sometimes it's led to some interceptions. But again, when I look at him in the pocket, when the pocket collapses, he gets out of there. He's got vision downfield, throws, makes some good throws in there. So he's going to be a top prospect. And of course, we're going to go over the teams that need him. Bears, Washington, first and second pick. So what do you think of Caleb Williams? Is he going to be right out of the gate, not only a fantasy producer, but good for his team, Jim?
yeah, he took a little bit of a step back last year, but the year prior, he got 4,500 yards and 42
Right.
touchdowns. And this guy is pretty much a pure pocket passer. He does do a little bit of rushing, not much, about the same as someone like Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be a guy that he's going to need to get you 40 touchdowns to be relevant for fantasy football. So, can he get there? Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of his big pluses is he was able to play with Marvin Harrison. So, the number one wide receiver in this year's draft. So, he had good talent around him, and I think it's a lock. I think he's going to Chicago, first overall pick, and he's going into a pretty decent situation there. You look at most teams that draft the number one overall pick, and they have garbage around. They just garbage talent around them. Look at what Bryce Young went into last year. No one was talking about Houston last year either. They thought that was a garbage team, as far as the offensive assets. But he's going into Chicago, which already has DJ Moore. They picked up Keenan Allen. They picked up DeAndre Swift. They already have Cole Kmet there. They already have some offensive things there. And so I think he's going to be good this year. I think he's going to have a good opening season on a decent team. I'm excited to see the future for this guy. I think it's bright.
Now, I did a video on Instagram. Just quick note here. First QBs drafted last NFL drafts, and a lot of them sucked. I mean, you got Blake Bortles in 2014. You got Jameis Winston in 2015. You had Jared Goff in 2016. He's been good. Mitch Trubisky, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray in 2019, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. And we had Kenny Pickett and then Bryce Young. Kenny Pickett and Bryce Young. Obviously, we know what happened the past couple years in regards to recency bias. Even Trevor Lawrence before that. None of these guys have really performed on a top level. You can give Burrow, a little badge of honor there. Jared Goff as of late, and Baker Mayfield. Out of all those guys I just mentioned, again, guys like Blake Bortles, Kyler Murray hasn't been able to stay healthy. So I'm wondering if the curse continues. So it's not necessarily that the first quarterback gets picked is going to be amazing. We've seen it. Like I said, Blake Bortles is a perfect example, right? You just never, ever really know. So these teams are doing their best to mitigate risk and try to draft the best possible person. So it looks like he might be a bear. I just have to make a note there because, again, everybody's thinking, oh, first overall pick, he's going to be the best. Not necessarily, okay? So that's something you need to keep an eye on, right, Jim?
That's true. I mean, CJ Stroud was the number 2 pick last year. Bryce Young was the first. But, when you look at what Bryce Young went into, where his number one receiver was Adam Thielen, and he had
Yeah.
Miles Sanders and, Zay Jones, I think was his wide receiver too. I mean, it was just a garbage team. I'm like, this is going to be terrible for him. And hopefully they're able to correct it and he's able to improve in year 2, which I think he probably has a good opportunity to. Yeah, I mean, there's the reason why these teams are picking first, second, third in the draft is because they are terrible teams. They are just terrible, awful teams.
Yeah.
And so, I think that Chicago is a little bit different though, because they basically stole Carolina's first overall pick. Carolina was the bad team. Chicago was actually pretty good last year. So I think that the ability for this team to jump to the next level and maybe become a playoff contender, I think is definitely in the cards for Chicago this year with their number one rookie quarterback.
Okay, we're gonna break down Drake May next here, but I want to talk real quickly some teams here with needs. Now, real quick, Chicago Bears. They also have the ninth pick. Jim did all the research here, laid it out for me on my notes. Washington, New England, Giants, Titans, Jets, Vikings, Broncos, and Raiders all need a quarterback. And look at this. Coincidentally, these guys are going as a top 12, 14 picks. So these guys are all going to get a crack at these guys, with there's only 4 or 5 that I think could be really special. And those are the ones that we're going to cover here. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys try to fight to try to move up. Arizona's got the 4th pick. They don't need a quarterback, but they do definitely need a receiver. So they don't want to lose the Harrison pick. That's probably who they're gunning for, or a Roma Duze or someone like that, or Malik Neighbors. So it's going to be interesting, man, what these guys do. Drake May. So let's talk about him here, Jim. What are your notes on Drake?
Well, I got to say, Drake does have more rushing prowess than Caleb Williams does. So that's good. He had 449 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns last year. That's a little, we can't expect those rushing touchdowns to continue. But he 3,600 passing yards. Was it 24 touchdowns? I got to say, I'm not super excited about Drake May. I just not sure that he is going to be able to make the jump to the next level. The Tar Heels, this is not a college powerhouse. They are in the ACC, I do believe. So it's not a good conference. It's tough for me to get excited about him. He's probably either going to Washington or New England. Neither one of those teams are a great situation. I think Washington's a little bit better. I'm having a tough time seeing why people are so excited about this guy and why he's going to be probably the number 2 quarterback coming off the board. What do you think?
Well, based on my notes, I hear he's he's got the prototypical build of a quarterback, right? Great arm, accurate passer, really good under pressure. I've watched the tape on him. He looks good. And a lot of people are comparing him to Justin Herbert, and he's got a little bit of that rushing upside. So the problem with him, again, like you said, I think is the team that he's going to land on. If he lands on Washington, New England, then you're in a situation where it's going to be tough, right? But I mean, you can't make excuses. If you're a good quarterback, which on paper he is, your prototypical quarterback, did decent in college, he's a top prospect, right? You should lift up the team. That's just the bottom line. We saw it with CJ Stroud. I mean, what were the Texans prior to CJ Stroud? And he did it with guys that Nico Collins. Nico Collins was never a true wide receiver one, in my opinion. He got elevated because of the quarterback. So all these guys, no matter what team you land on, if you're that good, it's time to elevate the team. You're done with excuses. We see Pat Mahomes is a perfect example of that. He's never had really ace receivers. He had Tyreek Hill and that, but sometimes he's left with Marquise Valdez-Scantling as the one, So he's always been able to pull a rabbit out of his hat. These guys need to do that. So Drake, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he outdoes Caleb. We never know, right? We don't know. That's why I don't like to take a risk here with fantasy quarterbacks that are rookies. Always a risk, but he's an interesting prospect, and the Justin Herbert comparison is really interesting to me.
Yeah, and I certainly wish nothing but good vibes for these guys. I want them to succeed, but the chances are, I think most of these guys are going to bust. I'm like, if we get 2 good quarterbacks out of this class, I'm going
Yeah.
to be like thrilled. I'm going to be like, that's fantastic. What a great year we had for quarterbacks. So, it's a tough situation. But again, I'm just not sure Drake May is going to be able to make the jump just based on where he's played his college career. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, Mahomes played at Texas Tech, which is not a powerhouse team by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll have to wait and see on him. But again, I think this is probably a guy that will have 19 touchdowns and 17 interceptions in his rookie season. So it'll be
Yeah.
we'll see if he's able to develop, but he will be allowed time to develop because he is going to go top 3. He will be given 2-3 seasons to get it going. So wherever he lands. So
All right. Like I said, Chicago, Washington, New England, and I think it's going to be in that order unless somebody trades up or moves or something like that. So you can imagine these guys going on those three teams to start. And then you've got Arizona and the Chargers at pick 4 and 5. Then you got the Giants who may be interested in the pick, which sounds like they may be. So these four guys could be gone by the sixth pick theoretically. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So next guy here, Jayden Daniels here, and right to the comp here. I heard RG3 comparison. Hopefully more durability. Elite. He's got that run to the house ability, which is interesting. So I watched him, man, and he's a running back out there, man. So that's good. Heisman winner, right? 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, so great ratio there. Accuracy's good. Exciting prospect here, Jayden Daniels. And when you look at him, man, would you be surprised if Jayden Daniels was the first pick off the board? Like, is it even possible or no way? Have you seen it in any mock drafts?
I mean, it is certainly a possibility. His numbers are absolutely gaudy. I mean, his 1,134 rushing yards, 10 rushing touchdowns. He averaged nearly 9 yards per carry on his rushing, and then he got 40 passing touchdowns. I mean, these are just outrageous numbers. Now, he did play a full 5 seasons in college, which is a little bit of a negative mark. I mean, the dude is 23 right now, and he's getting these gaudy numbers against teenagers. So, you got to put that into perspective. But what amazing talent was around him. Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. were his top 2 receivers. Both those guys are going to go top 4 for wide receivers in the NFL draft. I mean, just outrageous. But as far as any rookie, if I was going to take any rookie in this class this year to play for fantasy football, I'd pick Jayden Daniels because he's got those rush yards. And that just gives him a really safe floor. And wow, he could be a very exciting player. And I have heard that Washington's very interested in him, which is interesting because they also had RG3. And as long as he's able to protect his health and not destroy his knee like what RG3 did, he could be a great quarterback at the next level. And so I'm very excited about what he offers.
It's really weird because this league is just hurting for quarterbacks, and you can see the needs. Like I said, Chicago, Washington, New England, Giants, Titans. Well, Titans, I don't know, man. Are they sold on Levis? Is that what do you think? I know you're not a Levis,
Yeah,
but
but
I still think there's something there with Levis.
I mean, I'm kind of out on Levis, but I think he's going to be given this year to kind of figure it out. If he can't figure it out, they'll go back to the well and try to get someone else. But you've also got Denver, you got Minnesota, you got Las Vegas there. All these guys are picking in the top 13 picks. I don't think if you're not in the top 3 though, I don't think you're going to be able to move into the top 3. I just don't see it
No.
happening because really Chicago, Washington, and
New
New
England.
England got rid of their starting quarterback for last year. That is, they are not on the team anymore. So they need to take a quarterback. They can't really wait. So,
So that leaves Minnesota. Hold on a sec. Let's talk about this here. So Minnesota, who's picking 11th, right as of the time of this recording, have Justin Jefferson, who wants to be the highest paid wide receiver in the game. So when you look at the situation here with Minnesota, you get rid of Kirk Cousins, the guy that was, fueling your offense there. What are you going to do now? This is ridiculous. Minnesota is, you're going to have these other teams pick up Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Jayden Daniels, JJ McCarthy. All these guys are going to be gone pretty much, right?
well,
So
maybe. I mean, I have heard
potentially.
talk that Minnesota is trying to move in to the top 5 picks, and that is definitely a possibility. I mean, they got 2 first-round picks now because they acquired one from another team. So they've got 2 first-round picks. They've got 11, and then they've got also like 27 or something like that. They could pair both of those and say, I'll give you these 2 picks if you let me move up into the number 4 or number 3 or that position, and they can grab the 4th quarterback. But I just don't see there being any way that those top 3 teams are going to move out of that position.
Right. Yeah, Chicago, Washington, New England, they're locked in to get the best top 3 quarterbacks. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out because there's a lot of wide receivers that are in fantasy implication. Like I said, Vegas Raiders needs a quarterback. What happens to Devontae Adams? Denver Broncos needs a quarterback and a wide receiver. They're picking at 12. That's going to be an issue. You got the Vikings with Justin Jefferson Addison. Their fantasy relevance is really going to be hindered, predicated on the quarterback that lands there. So Very, very interesting to see how this fizzles out. We know that, the Jets at 10, they don't need a quarterback. I think they're going to ride Rodgers for a year. You got the Titans. I really think the Titans ride Will Levis. So I can't wait to see how this plays out, man. But let's move on here. So Jayden Daniels, we like him. He's a great prospect, tons of upside for fantasy, could be special. Really depends on what team he lands, right? To wrap him up.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I'd be happy wherever he lands. Just because I think he's an extraordinary, got that rushing ability. So that makes him a great choice for fantasy football as a rookie if you're going to take a chance.
Right.
And I mean, I don't have the numbers up in front of me right now, but I think he's going 10th round, 11th round, right in that range.
For
It's a
fantasy.
great place to get him if he stays there. I think he'll probably move up once the draft happens. But yeah, I think he's a good choice.
All right, this guy's got Baker Mayfield comparisons. We're talking JJ McCarthy here. What are your thoughts on him? His numbers weren't like last year, like astronomically high. 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, nimble out of the pocket, accurate, tough in the pocket. That's kind of what I got on him as kind of a general overview. What are your thoughts on McCarthy from the scouting reports and the video you've watched?
Yeah, he's getting a lot of hype, and I'm
Yeah,
not really seeing it. The guy was basically a game manager at Michigan. This was a run first offense under Harbaugh. And so he wasn't really asked to do a whole lot. 332 passing attempts. This both. Oh, I'm sorry, 332 in 2023, 322 in 2022. So he hasn't ever had to be a high volume passing player. His numbers reflect that. Not really a lot of rushing yards, very minimal rushing capability. So I don't know. I'm really not seeing it here as to how he suddenly hyped himself into the fourth overall quarterback being taken. Yeah, in comparison to Baker Mayfield isn't that good. So um, I don't know. I think this is just more hype over substance in this case. He was on a great team. He won the national championship. That's fantastic. Good for him. He's a great player, but I don't see him being anything more than a game manager.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he lands. But you know how desperate the NFL is. They're looking and grasping at anything that they can get that they feel is going to be viable, going to move the ball downfield, efficient. And I think he can do it, man. I think he's going to be efficient. But are we going to get another Mac Jones type player, right? Like that's what I'm feeling here. Could be special, but we never know, right? Just because scouting say something or their draft position says something. I mean, they could find another gear and tear it up. I mean, Tom Brady wasn't the biggest look. Like, when you looked at Tom Brady's photos at the combine, he didn't look like a prototype.
He was a very doughy man when he was
Yes.
young.
Yeah, just it didn't look like much, man. Not much muscle mass, and you never know with these guys, man. They just find that other gear, and they could be special in the NFL. So I don't want to discount any of these guys based on scouting reports. Antonio Brown had bad scouting reports. He wasn't a first rounder either. So you never know, man. You never know. And sometimes these guys come in with a chip on their shoulder. So landing spot, receivers, coaching, diet, nutrition, all this plays a factor, and of course mental game, and we don't really know what's going on in their heads. So I wanted to just kind of put that out there too when you're talking mental game. Last two here. Bo Nix, what are your thoughts on Mr. Bo Nix? 6'2", 217, quarterback out of Oregon. What are your thoughts out of him? Is he gonna excite a team here for someone's gonna draft him first round, but who?
Yeah, and this is
Yeah.
another guy who played full 5 years in college, which is always problematic. Again, he tore it up last year, 4,500 yards, 45 touchdowns. Oregon was amazing, man. I myself personally am a Colorado Buffaloes fan, and I watched this team completely dismantle the Buffs last year. It was a very painful game to watch. He was very good, very surgical, and just picked Colorado apart. He's obviously a very good player, but again, he's 24 years old and he was playing against teenagers in college ball. So I'm not sure how much you could take from what he was able to produce last year. He is a pure pocket player kind of guy, very few rushing yards. He only had 234 rushing yards last season. I mean, he was good, and he was this is the kind of guy I think that maybe Minnesota should target because he goes into something with big playability. And I think he could really make something happen with that, but much more so than JJ McCarthy. But like I said, I do have concerns about how old he is.
Yeah. I mean, you always want the young right out, 20, 21. You always want that. So that's a big issue. How old Bo? 24,
Yeah,
23?
Bo's 24. He's the
24.
oldest of all
Yeah.
these quarterbacks. And so again, like I said, when he's playing against 18 and 19 year, yeah, because he is way older and way more developed than those players are.
Yeah.
So both him and Jayden are the guys that stayed the full 5 years in college, and so yes, they put up great numbers in their senior year. But it's like, how much is that really their skill, and how much is it just they're just way more developed as a player than this 19-year-old that's coming after them with a pass rush?
Right.
So. But like I said, I think he's probably the riskiest player in this group, but he certainly showed what he could do. And I mean, great numbers, really good on a really good team. So
All right, last guy here that we want to address here, and there's other decent quarterbacks. We want to talk about the top six that kind of stood out. Michael Penix Jr. here. What are your thoughts on him? I've got great arm strength, good deep ball accuracy, aggressive mentality, willing to attack tight windows, give players chances in the air, shows ability to progress to get across field. Functional athleticism, can tuck and run for efficient gains. I guess his accuracy is a little bit not as accurate as some of the other guys we mentioned. These are just some quick notes I got with him. Overall, he's a stationary pocket passer with a live arm, and he likes to push the ball downfield. Again, these are just different notes from different sites. I don't like to just stick to one site. I like to look at tape. I like to look at stuff. But again, I don't know until we don't know. Nobody knows till we find out he gets into the team, into the system, and any of these guys could shine. But what are your initial thoughts? Again, these are just all initial preliminary talks here, guys. And we gave you the disclaimer: we're not drafting these guys till we know what team they land, and only as a backup for fantasy or as a QB3 in a two quarterback league. So I want to just make these disclaimers. Michael Penix Jr. Jim, what are your thoughts?
yeah, I mean, this is a guy. He actually got 6 years of eligibility. He played 6 years in college. Last two at Washington. Obviously, playing with Romo Dunze, which is one of the top three wide receivers in this class. Put up great numbers the past few seasons: 4,600 yards in 2022, 4,900 yards in 2023, over 30 touchdowns both those seasons. But this guy has like zero rushing capability. Last year, he had 8 rushing yards. So he has no rushing capability, which is a real negative for fantasy football. But he did great on his pro day, got a lot of buzz on his pro day. He actually moved himself up the draft board because they were saying he was going to be a round 2 guy, but now he has pushed himself into the round 1 conversation. So we'll see if that happens. But
You want to hear his
um,
comparison? I got this one site says he's a discount Carson Palmer.
oh, jeez.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Uh,
reading it right off.
I'm not. I mean, it makes sense, but yeah, I'm not sure I'd be interested in this guy for fantasy. But I mean, you never know. I mean, he seems to be very similar uh, to someone like Tom Brady, who never rushed for anything, or Peyton Manning. Those guys never rushed for anything. They were just 100% pocket passers. And maybe he can do that at the next level. But again, he's an older player, not as old as Bo Nix. He's only 23 right now, but I believe he's turning 24 like this next month. So again, a much older player coming into the NFL. Not sure there's any more room for him to develop once he gets into the NFL. And so he seems like he's kind of a ceiling play right now with a lot of decline risk in front of him. So, and I think he also is an injury risk player. He's been injured a lot. I think that's why he played 6 seasons in college. So,
Man, oh man, it's going to be interesting. A lot of teams, obviously, we've seen it. Like I said, the Bears, Washington, New England. We got the Giants. We got Tennessee potentially. We've got all Minnesota, Denver, Vegas. All these guys desperate for quarterbacks. And yeah, as you can see, as we got to Michael Penix, you could see kind of on paper a significant drop in regards to talent and potential upside, and you're not going to get the explosive great arm strength, running ability like some of these other guys like a Jayden Daniels will give. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And you guys can experience the draft with us, whenever the draft day is. It's coming up this month. We gotta have to do an actual promo for this. But all you gotta do is turn on the bell here on YouTube, and then we're gonna be going live for this draft for our reactions and commentary on these picks and some fantasy football impact, man. Draft day. Jim and I will be on. I think we'll bring Tim the bald guy. He's gonna be on for an hour as well with us. So Jim, this is it, man. It's
Sounds
crunch
great.
time. And then Thursday, we'll want to do running backs or wide receivers.
Oh, I thought we'd probably talk about the first round wide receivers because I don't think there's going to be any running backs taken in the first round. I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to happen.
And the first
So
running back is going to be at our fantasy sports summit. So secure your ticket. Trey Benson, potentially the first running back off the
Trey
board.
Benson, and man, if he goes to, I mean, really, my dream is either the Chargers or the Cowboys. Oh my God, he's going to be like huge. That's
Huge.
going to be massive, and I
He'll be a
hope it
second round pick.
happens.
He'll be a second round fantasy pick right out of the gate.
Yeah,
Maybe early first, maybe. If he ends up on the
I've
Cowboys as a starter.
I've been grabbing him in just about every fantasy draft I've been doing for best ball in like the 11th. I mean, I think he's moved up now to like the 10th round, but before he was like in the 11th round. It's so easy to get. And I just like can't pass him up. Every time he's there, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take him here.
Yeah.
But man, if he goes to one of those two spots, that'd be just absolutely primo. So
And
we'll see.
And that's what sucks. We've got that little bit of insight even prior to the NFL draft. See, like if it was a draft today, man, I'd be stashing him and a Blake Corum like late. You almost feel like you want to get some ace receivers that have proven early now, right? And then get these running back rookies, like stash them later. You got yourself an RB1 guaranteed, So it's I like the earlier for me, it works to advantage when I draft earlier. But mind you, sometimes you could swing and miss and you end up getting a couple bench players that do nothing. Last year, Deuce Vaughn being one of them, I thought he would have done stuff. And Tank Bigsby, those two guys, I kind of messed up those two guys, in regards to stashes. It just didn't work out for me. It is
Yeah,
what it is.
Tank had a lot of buzz going into last year. I don't know what happened, man. I don't know why he just. I mean, again, it just happens. Some of these guys just can't make the leap to the next level. They just can't do it. And I remember one of my friends. He played Division I college ball. And I'm sorry, he didn't, but his friend did. They were on high school football together, and then
Right.
his one friend went to Division 1A and came back at like Christmas time. It's like, wow, man, how is it? What's it like playing in college ball? And he's like, imagine the hardest hit you ever took in high school, the hardest hit, and in college, every hit is that hard. And so I got to
Wow.
think that when you make the jump from college
To
to
NFL.
to the pros, it's like the hardest hit you ever took in college is going to be every hit in the NFL. And a lot of people just can't handle that. That's a huge leap. And so some guys just can't do it. Their body just can't take it. So
Yeah, it's not
um,
easy, man. I was listening to an Arian Foster podcast with Joe Rogan, and this was years ago, and he was talking about how many, like, he played, I think, the 2010 season with like a broken shoulder or something like that. He's like injury after injury, broken nose, broken this, broken that. And it's just like he would have probably chose another career path if he had the choice thinking back, right? It's not easy, man. It's a tough sport.
it's a tough sport. That's why there's only like 1,500 professional football players in a country of 300 million people. It's a very, very elite core that is playing pro football. But as far as these quarterbacks go, being the ones that I'm interested in, Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, I think both those guys are going to go into great situations, and I think they both can be relevant in their rookie season, just the same way that CJ Stroud was. The rest of these guys, I'm kind of like a wait and see.
I think Drake May surprises. I really got a feeling he might surprise, but we'll see.
He could. I mean, absolutely. I wasn't expecting that much out of CJ Stroud last year. I mean, really, you looked at the team that was around him, the receivers he
Yeah.
had, and yeah, we were big on Tank Dell, but we were big on Tank Dell because Tank Dell was a 12th round pick. I mean, it's not like you're really going out on a limb to take someone in the 12th round. I mean, this year, you look at these rookie wide receivers. Harrison 2nd round, Malik is 3rd round, Rome Odunze is 4th round. You're really taking a chance on these guys that they can come out of the gate and immediately be fantasy relevant. It's a lot higher risk this year.
Absolutely. All right, guys, smash thumbs up, turn on the bell. There's some rookie fantasy football quarterbacks potentials for you guys, and do not draft them early as backups at best. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk soon, guys. We're out.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.